Welcome back to the Pig Trail Show. We have, as always, our Hoops insider, Kevin McPherson, joining us. Kevin, the biggest news from this week was Makai Mitchell announcing his return to Arkansas, but it was kind of weird what happened. He posted the announcement on on Instagram, and then Arkansas men's basketball put something out, but then they took it down. So what is going on with the Makai Mitchell situation?
Well, Makai Mitchell's still an Arkansas Razorback, and I think that's going to be the case, in the near future. If something changes on that, which I think is still a possibility, maybe not a likely possibility, but maybe it is. But for now, he's an Arkansas Razorback, and I think it just very well may land that way. But I'm not 100% on it, simply because he put his announcement out, the university followed, and then pulled it back. And I had a story that went out when Makai made the announcement, because he had one of those official U of A graphics.
He did,
looked like it was made for him to do that he put out. And then I was told, maybe not pump the brakes a little bit. So I pulled my story back. So let's see what happens. He's part of the program. He's part of the team as of now. Obviously the team's not functioning as a team because we're off season, and the end of the month is when the 23-24 roster will start moving on campus, and they'll get into that first session of summer school. They'll go through their physicals. Then they'll start doing that limited practice stuff that they can do that the NCAA allows, but we're not there yet. But Makai Mitchell is still an Arkansas Razorback. I know that was a little bit bizarre, but if you look at the past, when guys like Trevin Brazile and Jalen Graham announced that they were coming back, the University of Arkansas followed up with a graphic to reinforce that. When Barry Dunning Jr. and Darian Ford put out announcements or notices effectively saying they were returning, the university didn't follow that up, and it was shortly thereafter when they got in the portal. So it might feel like right now we're in a little bit of no man's land with that. But if I had to call it right now, I'd say Makai Mitchell will be with the Razorbacks in 23-24.
I think a lot of fans would be excited to hear you say that, especially with all the mixed signals going on. I kept tweeting out. I was like, what is happening with this situation? I just want an answer to know whether he's coming back or he's not coming back. Just give me one of the two, right, Kevin? That's all I wanted to hear.
That's right. And I probably just muddied the waters even more. But I mean, until we know, we don't know.
Exactly. That's what
There's a question mark with all of it. So that tells me it's not definitive just yet.
Exactly. Something else that's not definitive just yet, Ron Holland. We have no idea what's going on with that situation. I know a lot of Arkansas fans are on social media every day trying to see what is happening with his decision that's coming up very, very soon. We hope so, at least. The biggest thing right now, we talked about it on the show last week, is that Texas has to release him from that NLI, and they have to do it within 30 days. What is going on with the holdup? What's happening there, Kevin?
Well, first of all, I have to congratulate you on getting NLI correct the first time. With NIL and NLI, I keep butchering that, and they're two different things. Kudos to you. Look, we're in wait and see mode again. This is really, it's like kind of being in Eric Musselman purgatory or some middle place, which we're not used to. We're used to a constant news cycle. And when we saw those five commits come off the transfer portal board within a 2-week span in April, it just kind of felt like there was some momentum there. But right now, there are some big names, no bigger than Ron Holland, the number one player in the country. It came down to Arkansas and Texas when he committed, then signed with the Longhorns back in the fall, back in November. Recently decommitted. I say recently, you go back to April 28th. So now we're mid-May, and he's waiting on that NLI release. Had to slow down to get it right.
Yeah.
Texas. And here's how that works, Courtney. He has to wait at least 30 days before he can petition the NCAA to give the school a chance to release him, which effectively means the school's on a 30-day timeline. So the ball's in the Longhorns' court right now. Now, look, he's also considered at the time when he signed with Texas, and reportedly considering, again, pro options, G League Ignite. We see players come out of high school and go that route, spend a year, and then they're ready for the draft, or the National Basketball League in Australia, another pro league that we've seen high school players from the United States go and do for a year, so that they can spend that one and done year making money as a pro, and then get in the draft. And so those were options, but he could have done those things without a release from that letter of intent. because it's professional basketball. Letter of intent is only binding for collegiate, collegiate Division I in this case. And so that tells me a lot. It signals to me that those aren't, not only are those not maybe leaders for his destination, but I'm hearing that I don't think that he wants to play his a 1 year of college, at least 1 year of college basketball, and get ready for the draft that way. And that's what most players do. Even guys at his level, the top player in the country, again, 6'8", skilled. I say skilled, his skill level is going up. Very athletic, big motor, very intense competitor. You love that. But at 6'8", he's starting to develop that 3-and-D wing skill for that NBA level. And I think, Arkansas is in great shape with him. I've said I love their chances if and when he gets out of his NLI. We talk about getting paid. NIL comes into play too for players like Ron Holland. I mean,
yeah.
You're the top 5-star in the country in this class. If Arkansas were to get him, Courtney, be back-to-back years where they got the number one player in the high school class. Nick Smith Jr. last year in the 2022 class. Ron Holland could be that for 2023. And to remind everybody, this isn't, it's not like you're getting a commitment or a signing from a high school player. He's bound to Texas until that letter of intent is released. He's also not a portal player because even though he's signed with Texas, he wouldn't be transferring. He's never played there. He's never been enrolled there. So he's somewhere in between. Talk about being in that middle stage. Everything's kind of that gray matter floating around right now with Razorback basketball. Eric Musselman's chomping at the bit for some things for dust to settle because Arkansas's got 2 scholarship openings as we speak.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned that. It's just so funny. We have 2 wait and see situations. I know fans are like, what is going on? We just want answers. Sit tight, Razorback fans. It is wait and see on the Makai Mitchell situation, and so it is wait and see on the Ron Holland situation. You brought up the transfer portal, Kevin. What's going on there? It seems really quiet right now, and that feels weird to say.
Well, it's quiet, and I think one thing you could pay attention to as a fan anyway, with it kind of quiet in Arkansas circles, is that deadline to get into the portal came on Thursday, May 11th. That deadline is all it really is for the players who would be first-time transfers who can take advantage of immediate eligibility. There's a deadline to get in the portal to do that. That's come and gone. And so that doesn't mean that players still can't transfer. They can. For example, players that are senior graduates, if they decide after May 11th that they want to move on, we know that senior grads get immediate eligibility no matter where they go. Typically, no matter where they go. The SEC's got some deadlines too for interconference transfers, but the NCAA recognizes that immediate eligibility. The waiver process is different since they changed the rules to grant the first-time transfer immediate eligibility. So I think there might be some confusion out there about how that's going to work going forward. Because there may be some more restrictions now in the waiver process, given that they gave everybody at least a one-time green light, no questions asked. So this will be a very interesting offseason now that we're past that deadline. And, it's interesting because there's another deadline coming up May 31st for some guys that are on that fence for being a pro hog or maybe returning to be a hog. So there's some more question marks hanging for
Oh, I'm excited to get all of those answers very, very soon, especially about those Pro Hawks, because I know a lot of people ask me every day. The number one question I get asked when I go out, Kevin, is Devo coming back? Is Devo coming back? Please say Devo's coming back. So, hey, all will be revealed very, very soon. We're in that wait and see period. And I know Eric Musselman is chomping at the bit as well to get all of those questions answered, and hopefully very, very soon. Before we let you go, Kevin, want to talk about some recruits. You mentioned to me before we got on this call that you were keeping an eye on this grassroots event that was over in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Can you talk about some of the guys you saw over there?
Well, look, it's the Nike EYBL Session 3. The first 2 sessions in April, those were live eval sessions where college coaches, head coaches, all assistants, all of them could go out and evaluate in person. This was not that setting. But it was one of Nike EYBL's main sessions in terms of how it plays into their standings and, for the Peach Jam later in the summer, which is their championship event. So this mattered because you had all the top players on the Nike circuit, competing again. One guy that was a little bit of a surprise, Keoner Boateng, who's been playing with Arkansas-based Arkansas Hawks on the Adidas circuit. Yeah. He got on with Team Griffin on the EYBL circuit this weekend. Now we'll see what happens going forward. It could very well be that he returns to the Hawks, the Hawks weren't in action this weekend. Adidas didn't have an event this weekend, but we'll see about that. But he had a really good run over the weekend. Out of the gates, 22.7 rebounds. Looked at the highlights. He was getting it from all three levels. His skill level's really going up. Honor Boateng, 6'5" wing, Little Rock Central, a 5-star. Rivals has him ranked in the top 20. But Trey Johnson, the #1 overall player in the country, Arkansas's made a priority out of him. Lake Hollins out of Texas, another Texas recruit. The #1 recruit, you talk about #1 in 2024, 6'5", 6'6" guard, really an alpha scorer, but can do other things. But there are a lot of players. Jalen Shelley, a guard out of Texas, who took an unofficial visit to Arkansas back in the fall when his brother was the quarterback at Missouri State.
I remember that.
Jalen Shelley was his brother. So game recognizes game, but when you look at sports, right? That was an opportunity. Eric Musselman seized the opportunity to have him on an unofficial visit because he was coming anyway, probably to see his brother and recruit him. But Arkansas's, tracking a lot of players, not only in the state of Arkansas, but a lot out of Texas. And then we know they cast that wide net. Arkansas did make the top 8, by the way, for another top 50 player in the 2024 class, guard Jace Richardson. And this is a player out west who Gorman Bishop High School in Las Vegas. He took an unofficial visit to Arkansas last fall. I think attended Arkansas' season opener against Cincinnati. I need to go back and check that, but I believe that's when he visited. But his dad, Jason Richardson, big-time NBA player, dunk champ, and a guy that has ties with Eric Musselman and Keith Smart on that staff. So Arkansas made his list of 8. Young man that had been out for a while with injury, but he's back. This is the kind of thing when we talk about portal and we talk about player retention with guys like, Trevor Brazile coming back, Jordan Walsh, maybe Devo Davis, you just don't know. I like Devo coming back, by the way. I kind of think he might. But getting back to these high school players, we're starting to get caught up in the spring with portal. What's going on now? You got 4 Hogs in the NBA draft combine that starts, tomorrow or Monday and runs for a week. But people sometimes forget the high school, the grassroots. If you go back the last few years, it's been high school recruits more than anything. If you had to list the top players in the program for back-to-back Elite Eights and then a Sweet 16, guys like Moses Moody, Jalen Williams, Devo Davis, Nick Smith Jr., there's several of them that have had heavy hands. There's also guys out of the portal. We're now seeing Ricky Council, a guy out of the portal, going to probably get drafted. That'd be the first portal player for Eric Musselman at Arkansas to get selected in the NBA draft. JD Note, an All-American, first team All-SEC. So you're starting to see a blend, but I said all that because the grassroots event this weekend, even though coaches couldn't be there, they're paying attention. And for all the fans that get a little distracted by portal and the higher level stuff, do not forget there is still a place for high-level players coming out of high school. And Ron Holland is the next guy maybe that'll help prove that point and sell it.
And you keep us updated on all of those guys, Kevin, each week on this report. We appreciate you for it, as always.
Thank you so much, Courtney. Love the studio setup.
Yep. Yeah, well, we'll have a new studio next week. We'll have a new studio next week, Kevin. I hope that's the plan. All right. So
I know it. I had to have a little fun with it. It kind of looks, it looks a little like on the fly, like you had to set up somewhere on the move.
It is a little bit on the fly. Again, we'll have our new studio next week, and hopefully I won't have to make a makeshift desk this week and do all of that. But as always, Kevin, we appreciate you having on the show, and we'll have much more Pig Trail coming up after the break. Stay with us.